Let's talk about capturing the aurora with your OM system camera. I'm Émilie Talpin, I'm an OM system ambassador here in the US, and today I want to teach you about the best settings to get great aurora shots, and then I'll talk about fieldcraft and also what to do before you are in the field and so that you are ready to take your next aurora photo. So let's get started. How many of you have been out in the field this week taking the most insane aurora photo ever? I hope a lot of you, and I hope you were successful. But I also know that the end of this year and 2025 is supposed to be the best aurora year we have seen in a while. Why? It's because the sun is in its 11th year cycle, which means that every 11 year the sun is going to be a little bit more active, and this will produce better aurora for us. And when I say better aurora, I mean that we'll be able to see it in places where you usually don't see them. So you don't have to go to Iceland or Norway to see them. You'll be able to see them here in New Hampshire or even further south, which really is a treat. So I know a lot of you are taking photos with your phone. I do that as well, especially when I want to see where the aurora is if it's very faint, and so I don't have to set up my tripod and my cameras. So phones are great, but you have an excellent camera, and so if you want to print your photo, I really recommend that you use your camera to shoot the aurora. And here I'm using the OM1 Mark II, but any OM system camera will be a great camera to shoot the aurora, especially because they have a couple of features that you don't find in other cameras that makes it so easy to be a great night photographer. So in terms of settings for the aurora, well, the settings are going to be very similar to settings that you will have if you're doing night photography. So if I switch on my camera and I press on the OK button, I'm going to go on the Super Control panel. And what I want to do is I'm going to do the ISO. Usually I do 3200. That's my ISO. I might go a little lower depending on how bright the aurora is, how bright the scene is. But usually I start around 1600, 3200. That's my go-to. And remember, those are just the basic settings. And then when you are in the field, the condition will change. So you have to readjust. So try 1600, try 3200. You might have to go to 6400. It depends on your lens. So how open can you shoot? I shoot wide open. So on this lens, that is the fisheye lens, and it is a 1.8. So I might do a 1.8 or I might do a 2. And then the next step is the shutter speed. So if I do star trails, if I do the Milky Way, I'm probably going to be at a few seconds, like let's say maybe 15, 13 seconds is usually my go-to, but not for the aurora. You don't want to do that because then you're going to get a blurry aurora. I don't want to have a big green blur, right? So for the aurora, I recommend between 1 and 3 seconds. That will give you the best result. So you have an aurora that is well defined, especially if you are doing a time lapse, then you really want that. Then I do the starry AF. Starry AF is something that we are so lucky to have on the OM1 and the OM1 Mark II. It is making our life so easy as night photographers because all you have to do is press on the AEL button and your camera is going to focus for you to infinity. It's going to analyze the scene, grab on that very sharp star and make sure that it is in focus. If you don't have starry AF, then you have to manually focus. You can use your magnifying glass on your camera and then magnify on maybe the northern star, and then you want to make sure that this star is sharp. That's one way to do it. And so you want to do manual focus. That's what I would recommend. But if you have starry AF, then you are golden. The camera is doing the work for you. This is really, really insane. And it works so well. So starry AF is really the way to go. Then I would recommend maybe a 2-second delay to take your photo, or if you don't have to do a 2-second delay, if you have your wireless remote control, that is even better. You want to try to reduce the vibration so you have a sharp shot. So it depends if you have a wireless remote control or if you want to do the 2-second delay. Both work very well. And then the thing that you have to pay attention to is the white balance. You do not want to tell your camera, hey, analyze and tell me, auto white balance. It's not gonna work. The white balance, you need to make it custom. And my white balance usually for night photography is 3500 to 3800. The Aurora that I captured this week, I was at 3600. I feel like this will render the colors way better. Make sure also that your tracking is off, so no face tracking, no bird tracking. And then I shoot raw because I want to make sure that I have the most detail that I can. I like a bright lens, so the fisheye is a great lens, and also I love my 12mm because those lenses are very bright, and so you will get the best results. So make sure that you have an appropriate lens to be able to shoot night photography. Now, in the menu, so the camera menu 1, and then you go to the third menu, so ISO and noise reduction. Actually, if I'm doing just one shot, I'm going to do the noise reduction on. But if I'm doing a time lapse, I'm going to put it off, and I'm going to clean the noise in post-processing if needs be. Why? That's because I want to take a shot every second, and I don't want my camera to take basically 2 shots, because that's how noise reduction works. You take a shot for 1 second, and then it's going to take a second shot 1 second to then clean up all those hot pixels. Here I'm shooting the Aurora, it's cold outside, I shouldn't have any issues with hot pixel. I'm just gonna leave that noise reduction off, and then every second I'm gonna take a photo. That will give me a better result for my time lapse. Now, how do you set a time lapse? Because for me, I've seen so many pictures of the Aurora, and that's great, but there's nothing like having a time lapse. Why? Because I can extract any photos that I want, but also I have a short movie of the Aurora, and that's what the Aurora is. It's those lights dancing in the sky. So for me as a photographer, I actually really like to do those time lapse because they are a better reminder, in my opinion, of what the Aurora was, because I can see them dancing in my screen. So to shoot a time lapse, you can get an intervalometer, or nowadays most camera will have them. So if you click on menu and then you go to the camera 2, and then you go to the second menu, other shooting functions, you will see the interval shooting. You click on OK, and then you make sure that it's on, and then you will change the number of frames. How many frames do you want? Do you want maybe 400 frames? And then you decide, you want to wait for the start time, and then the interval length. I do 1 second for the interval length. And then you good to go. As soon as you're gonna press on the button, then you're gonna start taking one photo after the other. And so now you have photos that you can edit, and you'll be able to do a time lapse. And this is magical. I love OM system for this, because a couple of nights ago I went out for this absolutely fantastic Aurora. It was gorgeous. We had some clouds actually here in Lincoln. You couldn't see it from here. So I went over the Kank on the other side of the mountains, and I was very lucky that I have a friend who had the best view, in my opinion, for this aurora. And so I went to a house and I was able to capture a couple of time lapse that I put together to make one time lapse. But it's been quite frustrating to edit a time lapse on Lightroom. I didn't think I would hate Lightroom that much, but I did because it gave me that type of time lapse. Can you see it? You've got those kind of black outs. I hated it. I was so excited about this time lapse that I could see on my camera, but then when it came to it, it was absolutely horrendous to do a time lapse with Lightroom. I don't know why. I tried different things. I tried to not even edit my images and put it in the time lapse, and it didn't even work. So what I ended up doing is putting all my images on OM Workspace. I know OM Workspace is slow. It's very, very slow to work with, but it was worth any amount of time that I waited, because all I had to do is have all my photo uploaded on OM Workspace, and then I was able to select all my images. I did some basic adjustments, and then I click on Tools, and then here it is. I was able to click right here to make a time lapse. And again, it took a while for the time lapse to be uploaded onto my desktop, but oh my God, it was so smooth. It was so easy to make, no blackout. I was really, really happy because I tried to figure out Lightroom and it didn't work out for me. And I know you can get programs, but I tried once and it was so complicated. I'm not a night photographer, I'm a nature photographer. I'm learning about doing time lapse at night. But honestly, I'm just gonna go through OM Workspace from now on to make time lapse because it's way easier and it's free. You don't have to pay anything. You own an OM system camera, here you go. You can just download your OM Workspace, you can update your camera through your OM system workspace, and you can edit your images and you can make the best, in my opinion, time lapse with OM Workspace. So before I show you the result of my free time lapse put together, I want to talk about field craft, and I want to talk about what you need to do to be prepared for your aurora. Because if you see that, hey, the aurora is happening, I need to go out, you are going to struggle because you are going to have your flashlight, you're going to flash everybody. I've heard so many people who were unhappy because there were lights everywhere because people were trying to figure out their camera why the aurora was happening, and they were messing up everybody else. So don't do that. Don't be that person. You want to know the camera like the back of your hands. You might want to set up your C4 for aurora, and then when you go out, you know that you're ready to go and shoot. All you have to do is move to C4. You need to know how to look for all those menus. You might want to put the noise reduction and the time lapse directly onto my menu, so then you just have to go to my menu to find everything. It's there, it's accessible. Maybe my menu 2 would be a great place to put them. And also you want to practice your starry AF, so you know how it works, you understand it. So don't do that for the first time during the aurora. Do that right now, tonight. It's probably not going to be an aurora, so go outside and play with it, because that will make a big difference when you are in the field. Also, you need to be super stable, so you need to have a good tripod. I've been using Albert from Three-Legged Things. It's been working so well. I just like it. It's very simple. It's been very steady, and that gives me great results. And it's not something that's cumbersome. I don't know how to open it. My camera is stuck in it. No, I know my tripod. I know how to use it. And so that will also be key when making time lapses. So knowing your camera, being very stable in the field, and also knowing when an aurora is happening is so important. This Aurora Alert is the app that I've been using. it's been fantastic, but you need to know how to read it. So I like to read the graph because that tells me here, see this graph, nothing happened. And I know that I didn't have to go out. Now this graph, that was insane. That is an insane aurora. That doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, you know that you need to be ready. So check the graph, but also understand all the different data that are important to make an aurora work. So here, right here, you have follow wheels. If they are full colors, you know that this is going to be a great aurora. But for example, if the intensity of the storm is not here, or if we are protected from the storm, so with this wheel, and it's not a minus, if it's a 2 or 3, then you might not be able to see the aurora. So all those indicators are very important, and you need to be able to know how to read them. Because I've seen sometimes prediction of aurora saying this is going to be a fantastic aurora. Nothing is happening. I know that nothing is happening because I've checked the graph, and that graph is updated every 30 minutes. The satellite up are taking data, and then they're telling us, well, this is the data for the next 30 minutes. This is what you can expect. So you can see that on your phone, and you know when things are happening. So it's a great tool to have. I really recommend it. I did pay for the apps because I want to have all the features, and I also want to receive some alert to tell me that it's time for me to go and check the aurora. Now, another thing that I recommend is knowing your location. You don't want to wait the aurora to be here and then not know where you are going. You want to go maybe north, but maybe not, because if north means that you're going to have a mountain and no clear sky, this is not going to work. So you want a clear sky, and you want a clear opening view of the north. So if you are up in the mountains, it might not work the best. If you are out and you have a lake or a plain, then this will give you the best result, especially a body of water, because then you will also have the aurora refracting on the lake. So that would be another good place. So go and check your location, know where you are going before the aurora happens, especially as 2025 and the end of 2024 should be pretty good time to see great auroras. Now, I hope that all those advice will give you great results when you are taking photos of the auroras. I want to leave you with the time lapse that I made a couple of days ago. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know in the comments, did you make any photos during this aurora? Did you miss it? I know a couple of people who told me that unfortunately they didn't go out, but hopefully we'll have more of those, and you'll be ready to take your next best aurora photo. And if you're not a subscriber, well, it's never too late. Click on the subscribe button, click the like, and click on the bell so you know when my videos are coming out. They're coming out every Sunday, but sometimes I like to publish a few more videos during the week. So make sure that you click on that bell. And again, thank you for all your support. I'm going to leave you with the photos and the time lapse that I took during the aurora. Enjoy, happy shooting, and hopefully you'll be able to catch the next aurora now. Take care, au revoir!